So Nebraska wins the Pinstripe Bowl convincingly, or it would have been convincingly if it weren't for a couple of miscues from the special teams unit. A PAT was returned for 2, and a blocked punt set the Eagles up in prime scoring position late in the game. Gary, the loss of Tony White at the end of the season was expected, but also feared by a lot of Husker fans. They looked outstanding today. Is it possible that they are going to go on without missing a beat? Or even could they be upgraded by John Butler?
I believe so. We kind of talked about this a little bit when we did that Tony White video right after he left. I think we all anticipated he would leave sooner rather than later for different reasons. I think it's kind of come out, and we kind of alluded to it, and it seemed kind of weird at the time. But the reality is you've got a guy who spent a lot of time in the NFL with a proven very good track record in the NFL that's now more hands-on with the defense, obviously. I don't think you're going to see drastic schematic changes. I think you're going to see tweaks and play calling differences that are going to make it look and feel a lot different. In the bowl game's an example, you saw a lot more man coverage, especially when they were trying to send a guy, knowing that that's probably your best bet to offset the quick pass game that always kind of torched Nebraska in the past year and a half, 2 years under Tony White, which seemed to be more of a bend but don't break type of a setup. And when you're losing close games, yeah, it's good to keep teams out of the end zone, but letting them kind of easily get into field goal range is the last thing you want to be doing. He seems to have more of an aggressive backfield, where the DBs are in more man coverage, playing up a little closer to the line, which helps, some of that perimeter where Nebraska did really well against the run, but a lot of times when they got beat on the run, it was outside stuff, and when you have your corners up on the line or, a little tighter there, you kind of cut that off. But I don't want to get carried away with it because it's like everything else. You need more than just a little sample size. And I do have a little worry that seeing what was working for offenses against Nebraska and making adjustments, especially in a game like Boston College where they don't have Butler defensive coordinator game film to go off of. They're going off of what Nebraska did throughout the year under Tony White. And then Butler comes out and plays a lot more man, a little bit more pressure, a little bit of like bracketing, not a ton, more quarters, things like that. You're going to start the season off next year with a look. Maybe it looks good. There's not a lot to go off of. And then you get into Big Ten play and you've got better coaches, more experience that are going to have more game film to go off of and prepare their offenses a little different for you. And then does it look like, oh my God, this guy all of a sudden is, you know what I mean? I don't want to overstate, they looked good and the style or the placement, things like that, the disguises or pressures, things like that are going to be a huge success down the road. I want somebody that can adapt, that can in-game make adjustments and week to week prepare for what the offense specifically is going to do, not just this is what we're going to run. And if they move the ball 60 yards each drive, as long as we don't let them in the end zone, it's a success. Like it worked to an extent with Tony White. And in his defense, if we have even an average offense the last 2 years, we have a better record and his defense looks better because they're not on the field so much. But for other reasons other than what we just saw in the Boston College game, yeah, I do think the defense is going to look better. I think a lot of the guys that are going to be coming in and the guys that are going to be more prominent as starters or heavier roles and rotations compiled with what he likes to do on the back end of defenses, he's a little bit more aggressive. I think you're going to see more pressure on quarterbacks, probably more opportunities for interceptions. In just that experience, man, it's hard to replace or offset or make up for lack of experience, especially at the NFL level. And when you have experience and a lot of success at the NFL level, and then you go to college and then you start getting better players athletic wise. I mean, we'll see what happens when you lose guys like Nash and Bullock and Ty and things like that. Like those are going to hurt. And then you've got Butler and Princewell and things like that leaving for the portal. But when you look at the athleticism, the guys like Shavers and McGahee, some of the new transfer guys coming in you get a more aggressive guy on defense that's traditionally a defensive backs guy, where that's been a big problem for Nebraska, especially this year. And then you get some better, or at least more athletic talent around that. That just to me seems like it's inevitable. It's going to look better.